All right, so welcome into the live stream today. We're going to jump into our altcoin show. As you guys know, we do a full breakdown of altcoins, all the good stuff that you guys are going to love, where Bitcoin's holding up, and if it can make it through March before maybe a bearish correction. We'll see about all that good stuff. My name is Paul Barrow, and welcome back into TechPath. Joining me today, of course, is Mr. Evan Aldo. Great to be back. Always fun having you in studio, Evan.
Yep.
So we're going to get into Bitcoin, Ethereum, actually at the top of the show today. And then we'll follow up with a ton of really cool tokens, including some new tokens for you as well. So before we do get started, I do want to thank our sponsors, and that, of course, is iTrust Capital. If you're looking at going into an IRA, Bitcoin IRA, or other aspects of managing your own IRA, iTrust is one of the places that we recommend. Make sure and check them out. It's very simple. You can use our link down below. It'll give you a $100 funding reward once you start your account. But you have a lot of options there. You can go with silver, gold, as well as managing a ton of different crypto assets. Very easy to do. Just check them out at itrustcapital.com. All right, Evan, let's jump into it today. And I want to go into Bitcoin first. And this was a quick run from Cointelegraph. Bitcoin's the least volatile month ever, meaning February, up 0.03%. Which, by the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about dollar cost averaging. But the issue of February, you look at the two highs, or three highs we had in February, where we had 25K three times. And you look at what we're seeing right now and the potential of possibly recovering at that 23.8 zone, which is one that people think could be the bullish zone that takes us back into 25. Where do you see the charts right now on Bitcoin?
So I'm more in the bear camp, obviously.
No. I mean,
obviously.
This would not be the altcoin show if Evan was bullish.
What's going on? But I am in more of the bear camp. We'll talk about it in just a second. There is a case to come up to those higher highs, 26 to 28. But from what I'm looking at right now, I think most likely in this monthly, for the first time ever, this green dot is not going to give us what we need. If you look at this VWAP, we're about to kind of curve back over, and I think the money flow is going to come out more to give us a trajectory downward towards the end of the year for a bottom. And what I think, since we rejected off of 25K, which was our 200 weekly moving average, it's a pretty bearish thing here. If we look at our weekly, this VWAP is coming down. I also want to show you the 2 week. You were talking about DCAing in. This is the main strategy to DCA in. I DCA in when this is in the red, when it confirms in the red. That's 11 days for this to confirm into the red down here on Market Cypher B. And this is a really good, I bought some for long term back in December, end of December when this confirmed. And that's in some good profits right now. What I bought there is about 1/10 of what I want to put in this year. And this was a great 8-month period back here. And this chart doesn't go all the way back, but it was kind of the same thing back in 2015 for DCAing in. And what I want to show you, why I think I'm in more of the bear camp for short term for the next few months. This month could be sideways again, which could be interesting. We could be boring for some of this month, but I definitely think best case scenario is sideways. Look at this. This is a rare bearish sign right now. We have money flow coming, we have momentum waves coming down. That's a big bearish div. This is a big thing on Market Cypher. While this is coming up, you have the bearish div here, and these RSIs are very split and coming down too. I want to compare this to 2019, to our rally in 2019. A lot of people think that we're going to have one more leg up here. This would be like if we come up to 28 or 30K doing this. But the thing is, we already are seeing the money, the bearish div right here, just like it was over here. We're already seeing that. So that's why I think you could come down. And let me just show you what happened here. I think we could have a trajectory downward to a bottom. I wouldn't count the pandemic, but this would give us a potential lower bottom towards middle to later this year at around 13, 14K, which is a huge area. Yeah. So that's what I think.
Yeah, the 14K has been one of the lows that we've been targeting for a while. There's been some scenarios that play into that. If you look at, and I would kind of agree with you for March right now, if you look at the sentiment data, just in the sense that we came off that high of the 25K and now we're running, and here's the March 1st data out, also slightly, just very slightly up, but at least amplification is also tracking with it, which means right now I'm not anticipating a big move on Bitcoin. So whether we see it recover the 23.8 and start to head toward 25 again, that will probably play out in some of the sentiment charts for sure. As far as Ethereum goes, there's a couple things that have been going on here. This was Ben Cowan. He kind of looked at this analysis here, and I was just going to showcase what they were talking about. He's basically saying that before Ethereum goes to a bull run, the smart contract platform is likely going to retest around the upper and lower bounds of their regression chart that they're looking at. To some degree, it feels like ETH is just teasing. In one sense, it's set just outside the regression trend line, and Cowan says ETH could drop at least another 53% from its current value, which is hovering around 15 to 16 right now. Why? Now, the one thing that he says here, one thing he wants to draw attention to as we talk about that is a fair value fit, not non-bubble data. Arguably, at this level right now is currently around 750. That's where his target zone has been.
Yeah.
You've talked a little bit about that in the past. Why are you guys thinking ETH is going to go that far? Because I just don't see this happening.
Well, I want to say, I think I discovered this and been talking about this a long time before Ben
What?
Cowan has.
Ben's snaking your
Yeah,
analysis?
I don't know. I think
What's
we're just,
going on
I
there?
don't think he's copying me. I think we're just finding the same things.
finding
I
the
think
same
I
things.
found these things first.
All
But
right.
what I want to say on ETH here is what I'm looking at. So remember how I showed you the 2 week on Bitcoin? It's already coming into the red. And this is indicative of what happens in bear markets. Bitcoin will bottom out with ETH, but ETH will bleed against Bitcoin. The altcoins will bleed against Bitcoin for a while. So my main strategy, what I'm kind of waiting for here, is this 2 week to get into the red. And if you kind of map this out compared to the same thing I was showing you on Bitcoin, this trajectory downward I think is very probable here to a potential bottom towards, let's see where this would bring us to, right at around 600. It could be 700. I mapped out this range. I think it's between like 700, worst case scenario, kind of low threes. That's what I've said. So that's the range. We'll see where that would take us to. Mid to late this year. That's the area. If you want to get in a little bit earlier, what I'm kind of waiting for, maybe I might start toying in, is this 12-day to come into the red here. Also, I probably want to wait for the next red dot. So when this VWAP comes down in this 12-day, you're going to get a red dot here. And I kind of want to wait till that confirms and that kind of plays out here to start getting in. And you could just look at this. This is from October 2019 all the way to June 20. So about, an 8 to 10 month period of DCAing in once this confirms in the red here. So the earliest that could happen, April maybe, that would be a really good place to get in. And I think that's kind of the best place to get in, kind of that area, April and onward here. So I think Bitcoin is the main move right now if you're going to be buying anything. I'm not buying anything just yet, but those things I told you about Bitcoin, I'm waiting for.
We did a dollar cost analysis on this. I probably should have brought it to the show, but the dollar cost analysis was looking at a $200 a day budget for buying Bitcoin starting on January 1st. And at buying Bitcoin on a DCA every day, just putting it on autopilot, got you around $11,800 in total investment. You ended up yielding about 8%. Okay, that was if you were to sell Bitcoin yesterday at the end of February, you would have yielded 8%. If you had done swing trades of that same $11.8 thousand, in different increments, basically on its days where it would go into the red, you were ending up with around a 26% gain. Same amount of investment, same time frame, just choosing your spots.
Right.
When you look at that, do you think a DCA strategy is the better way to go? I mean, in that particular scenario, it's not, but not all would be able to hit those swing trades perfectly.
Well, yeah, the swing trades, that's much more sophisticated. That's something you got to really do a lot of research on. That takes time, you know what I mean? In terms of DCA, I like to DCA in kind of once a month, typically.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different. I don't do it every day, kind of my
Yeah.
area. I make it simple, kind of a once a month area. So
Where do you do it though? I mean, would you do it? I mean, right now we're seeing Bitcoin back into a zone where many would say, hey, that 23K would have been another good DCA point.
I don't think so, based on my strategy.
Where would you have done it in February?
So where I wouldn't have done it in February, because on my 2 week here, let me just show you the strategy that I'm following. I think this is probably one of the best ways to do it. On my 2 week here, let me find it, on Bitcoin, see right here, I'm going to zoom in. It confirmed in the red in December. I DCA'd in that month. And now in January, February, we're not in the red. Now we're coming to the red again. I'm waiting for this to confirm into the red in 11 days. Then I would start the DCA strategy again. I put 1/10 of what I want to put in. So for example, if I wanted to invest 10 grand into Bitcoin, put $1,000 in, and then every month while that stays in the red, another 1,000. Hopefully around 8 to 10 months of that.
Okay, all right. That's a good strategy. I think it's healthy, and it's one that, for a lot of people, that's, because you're right. It's hard to keep up with, all the research you'd have to do to really do swing trades at that, even though we do have a lot of swing traders that follow the channel. But I like the DCA strategy. I'm not sure about the blind DCA, which is just, hey, just $100 a day, $50 a day, whatever it is, no matter where Bitcoin is trading. That's the one.
Well, statistically, Mondays it's typically are the cheapest day a week.
Right.
Buy. So I would look into that a little bit.
Do a weekly buy on Monday.
Yeah, I would say a weekly buy. Doing it every day, I don't see a reason.
Yeah, interesting. Let's go over to Solana now. I want to take a look. And if you guys, let me show you, well, we may get a chance to show back on ETH sentiment. But anyway, let's go into Solana. A couple things happening here. They're improving their network upgrades. That's a good thing. At the same time, do remember that Solana has had outages. These are the things that we've talked about many times. But the interesting thing here is only one outage in the last 60 days with January, February. So that's a good thing overall. What does the chart say on Solana right now? This is a token that I actually went back into. It was not in my original portfolio for the year, and I went back into Solana just here over the past few weeks.
So I think the main thing that we want to look at now, just Solana and a lot of these altcoins, is that most likely because Bitcoin dominance is going to keep going up. Say March is more of a sideways month for Bitcoin. A lot of these alts are still going to bleed against Bitcoin. I think that's what we're going to see. If you look at my chart here, I think that Solana is going to get a trigger wave pretty soon on this weekly right here. And this could be kind of catastrophic. If you look at the last time we kind of had a red dot, it was a yellow X here. I would look more at this as a comparison to see what could happen. But this would bring us potentially to a lower low here into May. I think it could be a few rough months for this. I mean, this is up a lot. You're getting, red dots all over. These RSIs are starting to come down on our 3-day here. Daily, money flow looks overheated, starting to come down. If you look at some of these middle time frames too, crossing into the red here. So I think most likely we've seen kind of what this can do, and we're going to kind of roll over to probably at least, if you look at the 6 hour here, look at this trajectory downward. This one wasn't too bad, but even if you repeat this, this is going to give us kind of a sideways trajectory. This would bring us down to $18 by March 20th. If March is more of a sideways bearish month, I could see something of that nature.
Yeah, trends right now on sentiment, Solana is pointing down. We had that period right there that was showing a little bit of life right here, which was between middle of February up to end of February, or actually the 20th of February, where it hit its high 26. And bounced back, and then of course we saw the correction come back in. So this has been a spot where there's been some trade opportunities here. If you were to get in right here, you were in a pretty good position. But if you look at the sentiment, all of that is then trending back down. It hasn't hit its low, which was 46 back in early January. My anticipation is that Solana may end up on that track based on amplification continuing to trend down over the last 4 data points that we've had on sentiment. So kind of with you. Let's go over and take a look at Binance. They've got a couple of new little tweaks happening. They had a payment thing roll out. Binance now has pay partners with CityPay.io. This is going to allow people in the region to secure Wendy's with crypto, but also spend at about 600 other vendors, which I don't think this does much for BNB. This is a token I have gone away from.
Saw the news.
It's a token I just don't really get involved anymore. And there's reasons with Binance. I think there's some things there that are a little bit more difficult. They also had news about their AI NFT generation beta launching called Picasso. That's such craziness. Anyway, what does the chart say?
Not too good, at least for the short term here. What I think we're going to do is repeat something, at least something like this, what we saw in November of 2022. If you look at this has been a very boring thing. We're at essentially the same price we were at back in May of 2022. So going on a year now, just kind of sideways. So the big thing too is I think we're eventually going to break out up or down. And I think it's probably going to be down if you kind of look at this wedge. I think for the short term, we're going to repeat this pattern. This is kind of what I drew here. See this red dot, this little wave down here. We're going to repeat that. We'll probably hit the bottom of this wedge 250 by it could be sometime in April. And then if you break out of this, though, I think ultimately this could be a potential bear market bottom. You break out of this, you got a technical target at 160, 170. Curious how far down that is from the all-time high here. About a 75% correction. It almost seems too good to be true. So compared to a lot of other things, that would be pretty good. You're on thin ice once you get to these levels because there's not much to hit onto. You got something at 100. something lower. So, I mean, I don't want to say you're going to go down that low, but it's possible, and you could have a big scare with this. So yeah.
Polygon is one that they haven't made news heavily over the last couple of weeks. One thing that is new is the Robinhood wallet is out, and now with that being the case, this is only available now all on iOS. So any iOS user, you can get to the Robinhood wallet. If you were on the wait list, you've probably already seen this. I think we reported on this. Not a bad wallet. I mean, I see this as a potential for additional tokens, but more importantly for the DeFi space, really rolling in, and obviously MATIC being a part of that. Additionally, with MATIC next month, mainnet beta for ZK EVM arrives. So it's kind of the whole silver bullet concept for scaling on ETH. First functional EVM equivalent ZK rollup is almost here. That will be fairly big news. Most likely Polygon will move a little bit on that. From a fundamental standpoint,
right.
What do the charts talk about there?
Yeah, I think Polygon's like way overdue to finally start bleeding against Bitcoin. I mean, the main thing, we got the red dot in the weekly, very split RSIs. This is a rare bearish sign. We've never seen this before on MATIC. Fun fact, I don't believe we've ever really seen split RSIs this high before, even on Bitcoin. So we kind of don't know what's going to happen here. But what I could say is we're probably going to see some type of correction. It could be similar to something of this nature to here for the next few months. If I wanted to kind of pinpoint it, I think it would make sense to at least test, kind of the lower bounds of here, 80 cents. I do think you're in the ballpark of a 50% correction, if not more, towards the end of the year, because I think there's going to be a pretty big sell-off on this eventually. You do have the main thing, this is on Bitcoin too and everything. I mean, you do have the VWAP coming up on the daily. I think we're kind of through that though. But maybe you could get one more little jump up if March tends to be more of a sideways month, one more jump up to 145, maybe with that good fundamental news, one more jump up. But I think after that, you're going to really start to finally bleed against Bitcoin. Let me just show you the MATIC Bitcoin evaluation right here, because this is really important to look at, because obviously if it can't outperform Bitcoin, what's the point? And I talked about last time, look at this huge point we keep hitting. This is MATIC Bitcoin right here, here, hitting it again, red dot in the weekly. I mean, I think at least you're going to repeat kind of what we saw there and come down. Let's see what percentage against Bitcoin this would be. Come down 20% against Bitcoin in the next few months.
There's a couple of things that are happening here with the sentiment side on MATIC. And this is one that, we've been very bullish on. We of course, as you guys know, if you follow the channel, we sold our MATIC position, almost hit the top. It didn't, not quite. But the interesting thing here, I'm just looking at a zone here that MATIC is currently in, this around 127 down to around $1.16, which is where it's basically performing. The last time we saw this kind of performance zone was back in November. Now, granted, we've had some up runs, but if you look at the sentiment charts, we've seen MATIC now at its lowest point over the last almost full month now. Because it was running right there at a 62 on AMP, and now we're at a 58. Obviously, that is tracking with where this trend line is going with MATIC. So it could fall into your point of a correction down.
Yeah.
I think, though, that the key here will be fundamentals. If something happens, and MATIC has been very good, when I say MATIC, Polygon has been really good about being able to launch a PR firestorm around certain kinds of elements. The ZK rollup may be one of those catalysts that could help it bounce a little, because we're getting, we're on a green day right now with MATIC up 2.6%, on the day. So maybe it recovers that position, which the last green candle was 3 days ago, which got it to it wicked up to $1.29. So I don't think we are going to get a chance to see that high coming in at $1.50 and $1.53, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe one more run up to 145, 150, something of that nature. But I don't see it going making a new high, really.
All right, let's take a look at Ripple. Everybody always wants to know about XRP. Ripple is now in talks with over 20 central banks on CBDCs. This is talking from an executive that revealed this, and he basically says that regulators around the world, this would be invaluable. Unlike the U.S., regulators in Singapore, Tokyo, Switzerland, UK, all are participating in these kind of discussions. Right. This is a big deal for Ripple as a whole. Not great for the United States, which is the thing that really bothers me. Which reminds me, guys, if you are not on, if you don't have your representative, your House rep, or your senator on speed dial, you probably should need to do that, because I think we're starting to see a firestorm of legislation that's starting to play into this.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned with this as we start to see us going into the next presidential election. So make sure and do that. But back to XRP. Not 10, not 20, but a bunch more central banks around the world on discussions. And then Ripple is now making rapid progress in crypto-friendly jurisdictions. All of this good for Ripple, probably good for XRP. What do the charts say XRP is going to do?
Not good. But it's not always right. I mean, what I want to show you here is if we just look at the pattern for Ripple, we've been in this giant wedge since December 2020. And fun fact, we're at the same price that we were in December 2020. So obviously over 2 years now, hasn't done too much. And if you look at this main pattern, we have a blood diamond here. This blood diamond, I would argue, would be worse than the last one back here, just because these RSIs are very split and coming down. And I think this would bring you down, if you repeat that trajectory, it would bring you down to 12 cents, and that would be around next few months, May, maybe sometime into summer. That would be the pandemic drop for a double bottom there, which I think is possible. What I also think is maybe a less bad, scenario would be just down to kind of a slower bleed down to like 24 cents, 25 cents by the end of May. If the lawsuit, we've been waiting on news for the lawsuit. People have been talking about news with the lawsuit for the past 20 years now. Nothing's happened. It was the past 2 years. People have been saying, next week, nothing's happened. So, I mean, it's got to come out of this wedge. It's got to do something. And I think
the only way I think is for the legal situation to change a little bit, because that obviously would trigger an immediate relisting in many scenarios. From a U.S. standpoint, and obviously that would be one of the biggest markets that Ripple has not been able to secure in terms of future, potential development. So that in itself is a bit troublesome. Couple of news items here. Quant just basically announced that they're doing a connectivity to the Avalanche blockchain now via a new release on the Overledger platform. So you've got AVAX news coming in a little bit in the sense of where things are happening. Looking at AVAX, because this is one that was very hot for a moment this year, and then we started to see a little peel back on Avalanche as a whole. I'm sure this is going to be going down. I've got a bet on that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that ultimately what I'm looking at, it's a similar thing that we were looking at for kind of XRP. I mean, or not as bad as nothing's as bad as XRP, but down here, that could be a 50 to 70% correction downward. It's similar to kind of how it was over here in May of 2021, that trajectory downward. So there is a possibility to come down farther. I think there's a lot of hope, though, for a double bottom at $10 or $11. But ultimately, what I'm seeing here, split RSIs coming down there, I just don't see enough of a reason to believe we're going to come up going to make newer highs. I mean, in the next few weeks, sure, we could come up a little bit more with this VWAP coming up on the daily here. Maybe pump up back to, I don't know, maybe even $20, who knows. But I think ultimately the macro is still bearish for this. I think regulation is going to hurt a lot of these altcoins. So, yeah, I mean, I have a technical target at $5. I don't know if it's going to go that low, but yeah.
If you look at Avalanche, which was in our early portfolio, we got a chance to buy in, get out, buy in again, get out. But even if you had purchased back when we did our original portfolio at the beginning of the year, you'd still be up 60%. And this might be your chance, because it's getting into kind of a section that's going to get a little dicey, which is around $15, because there's no real support, once we hit that. So that's something to think about. Now, granted, if you're a big Avalanche follower, you're most likely looking for potential partnerships. Those are the things I'm watching. But again, I don't know if there's enough fundamental news yet, especially with the timing. Because remember, timing here on macro, what we're going to see in terms of inflation, what the Fed might do in terms of interest, and when do we see a pivot occur. I think we're in for a little bit rougher spring than what a lot of people have been pointing to. So we'll see on Avalanche. All right, further into today, this was an interesting post by Meta, and this is from Stéphane Croisriel. Basically, he's one of the guys that heads up FinTech and Web3 at Meta. Now, there's a couple of things that are happening here. As you guys know, Polygon Polygon is MATIC. The association is the tie into Instagram use case as well as Arweave. So there's, if you'll notice here further in his post, we're rolling this out on Polygon blockchain to start. We're also expanding types of collectibles so you can display on Instagram, including videos, adding support for Solana and Phantom. That'll be a big deal. And then plus new integrations with OpenSea and of course the Arweave deal, which is one of our big items that we've been following in a pretty heavy way. Arweave hovering around $10 right now.
Yeah.
Is Arweave going to open up another opportunity to slide a little further? Amplification is still showing downtrends on this. What do you see?
Yeah, I would agree with the amplification. It seems like we're going to lose the $10. I mean, it could take a little bit of time. We could jump up to 11, the next few weeks, whatever. But for the first time ever, well, really the second time ever.
I love how you just say could jump up 10%.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's
for
a good
macro,
move.
for a macro, I mean, for a macro perspective, I mean, I think it's gonna. I think it's hit the high here. I think it's hit the 14 high.
All right.
And right here, see this red dot. This is the same as it was over here. I would even beg that this red dot could be not worse, but it's a strong indication that we're probably gonna come down here. And if you compare it to this one, now I don't think it's gonna come down this much again, but you could have a trajectory like this. And if you go from here, that's a lower low, like all the other in sometime in the summer around $4 to $5.
Okay.
What I've talked about for a better buying opportunity there.
So right now, Evan, where would be, if you're looking at March as an investing month, and you think about it, either you're going to have to do swing trades or you're going to look for these slivers of opportunities,
Right.
Or you're going to be shorting things.
Swing shorts, I think. Yeah.
So that's really kind of the play for March, is what your strategy is?
It's mainly swing shorts, and if you're going to be accumulating something, accumulate Bitcoin for DCA, and then the main altcoin accumulation, I think, is going to start in at least May. In the summer, probably from May into early 2024.
Yeah, I think March is going to be an interesting month to watch. There could be a couple of psychological moves that play into this as well. Looking at the cheat sheet from Wall Street, we showed this yesterday during Garrett's show. Where do you think we are in this chart?
So we're at if you see the anger phase right there, I think the anger phase was around 15K, and 25 is just past the anger phase, that high 25K, and I think we're headed into the depression phase for a little bit of a lower low. Now, 15K down to 12K or 13K or even 10K isn't even that bad. So the depression phase is mainly, it's not going to be that much worse. Altcoins are going to get hit real hard, but for Bitcoin, not that much worse than the 15K. But just there's going to be a lot more apathy. A lot of people just won't care about this market at that point, and that's going to be sometime between the summer and end of year, I think, latest early 2024, and that's the serious time to get into altcoins.
So your theory is this bright orange section right after anger is where we live today.
We're still in the anger phase. You could tell by the comments. We're still in the anger phase because nobody bought at 15K, and now they're all angry that it went up to 30.
The 25, and didn't get a chance to take those those gains. Well, hey, liquidity works like that sometimes, unfortunately. Anyway, let's go over to the poll today and see what the audience is thinking. All right, could ETH fall to 300 to 750? Absolutely not. 62%. Not going to happen this year. I'm kind of in that camp, but I hate to agree. Sometimes it gets me a little bit secure. I just look at ETH and I think all of the things that is happening, it's not just one thing. There's so many amplified layers, and you have to also take ETH and set it outside the United States in some of the biggest markets out there, which I think, even though the US still drives a lot of the markets in terms of price and volume, the scenario could play in a big way, especially if we start to see some interesting adoption. We're going to do a show later today at 3 talking about this whole Asian invasion concept of just what's happening in Asia right now around a lot of these projects. And of course, ETH is typically the center of it.
But what are the odds that you're going to miss out much on ETH if you wait to the end of the year or wait to the summer? Probably not very high.
Probably not much. I mean, in reality, you're at a 15, 16 range right now. Probably a good place if you bought early enough and were able to take a look at some profits. Even if you look back at ETH right here, let me just pop to the chart and we'll back. Yeah, so right there, if you got it in, at the beginning of the year at 1,200, then this is still a good time to take profits and say, well, let's wait for an adjustment. Even if it went back to 1,200. that's another great liquidity grab that you've been able to basically pull in, camp out on the sidelines with some cash, start looking for those high yields. Which, by the way, would you guys like to see a video on high yield strategies? Because there are a lot in money markets. There's a lot within some of the strategic banks, even things like Robinhood. Love to know if you guys would like to see that. Drop some comments down below. Make sure and like this video because it does help get this video seen out there to help the market. And I think in general, people will discover crypto as a whole. All right, let's get into some questions. I know you have the pad today.
Let's see here. So somebody asked Cosmos or eGold? I would say Cosmos.
Cosmos.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Somebody says, will 19K be the last opportunity to buy low? I think no. I think it's going to go lower.
How much lower, though? How much lower, really?
Yeah. 13, 14K?
That's the 14.5 range that we've kind of been pointing at.
Yeah. Let's see. How about Filecoin? What do you think of Filecoin, Paul? Do you like it?
In lieu of, when you look, first of all, I like anything that stores data for Web3.
Yeah.
Filecoin is, I feel, a poor man's Arweave.
Okay.
Arweave, I think, is going to be the one that wins that race. In terms, if you're thinking data storage and you're thinking Web3 and you're looking long term, if you could have invested in AWS 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but even though AWS is not a publicly traded company, did you know that if AWS spun out of Amazon, that would be one of the top 5 companies in the world? Just the AWS. That's how big it is.
Yeah.
So think about data and how that works. So Arweave would be my selection.
Okay. So some people are asking about HBAR and some people are asking about ADA.
All right, so Hedera, we had Mance Harmon. He's been on our show a couple of times. He's the CEO. Remember that's the Hedera team. It's interesting. They separated and have created a fully decentralized element around Hedera. And to me, that's a good strategy. The other thing is they're making some really good moves on their strategic global partners. They're missing a handful. I think they have 39 total, and they have another 11 or so to get into that governance pool that basically runs the Hedera hashgraph. I like that token. It's one that I do buy in and out of. It's not one that I'm going in for DCA and hold yet, because I'm with you. I think altcoins are going to continue to lead. Yeah. 100%. So interesting. ADA, I mean, listen, that's Cardano. It's not one that I invest in right now. So it's just, I don't say anything bad about ADA because the Cardanians do not like that.
I think it's going to 15 cents.
Don't say that on
9 to 15 cents.
Don't say that on the show. You can't. The Cardano or
and it may not make a new all-time high in the next bull run. It may not.
You're just going in there. You're just prodding now. You're just prodding. I see what's going on. Yeah, he's hanging us out to dry. All right. Any other questions here? Do we have any other over there?
No. All right, nothing
cool.
here.
All right. So listen, guys, get in on the Diamond Circle. We launched the Substack, which is PBN3. .substack, you'll find us over there or link down below. But the cool thing is we've got a podcast over there, lots of additional research and content, additional audio. Like for instance, Gareth's show that we did yesterday, we did a full audio analysis of that after the fact of the show that brought in some additional insights and research. So check that out. It's only available over on the Diamond Circle, so make sure and join. Of course, if you want to catch me, it's out there on Twitter. By the way, if you guys have not joined Evan's course, we always leave a link down below. Hit it. It does help Evan,
Yeah, thanks so much. Really, a lot of people have really liked it.
Good. All right, you guys, if you want to catch me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.